Welcome to the U.S. This document self-check tutorial is meant for UCSD international students re-entering or entering the U.S. for the first time. You should fulfill the document self-check requirement within 15 days of arrival every time that you re-enter the U.S. The document self-check consists of 5 simple steps and should take 5 minutes or less to complete. The steps are to 1. Review your I-20 or DS 2019, 2. Review your Form I-94, 3. Review your student visa, 4. Review your passport, and 5. Update your address. Let's get started. The first document to review is either your I-20 for F1 visa holders or your DS 2019 for J1 visa holders. This is what an I-20 looks like. Things to review on the first page are the program end date and your signature. The program end date is here. If you are unable to complete your program by this date, make sure that you extend with ISPO before your I-20 expires. Next, always make sure you sign each new I-20 you receive. Similarly, on the next page of the I-20, make sure that an ISPO advisor has issued a travel signature here. For current students, each travel signature is valid for 1 year or until the I-20 expiration date. That means you need to re-enter the U.S. either before a year has expired from the date of the travel signature or before the I-20 expiration date, whichever comes first. For OPT students, each travel signature is valid for 6 months. That means OPT students need to re-enter the U.S. either before 6 months has expired from the date of the travel signature or before the OPT end date, whichever comes first. If it will be longer when you re-enter, you will need to get a new signature from ISPO before you travel. Lastly, after you have reviewed your I-20, make a copy for your records. For J1 visa holders, this is the DS 2019. Please check here in Section 3 for your DS 2019 expiration date. If you are unable to complete by this date, please extend with ISPO before this date. Always make sure you sign here on each new DS 2019 you receive. Next, check here that an ISPO advisor has issued a travel signature. Each travel signature is valid for 1 year, so make sure you check the date each time you travel. You can re-enter the U.S. before a year has expired from the date of the travel signature. If it will be longer than a year when you re-enter, you will need to get a new signature from ISPO before you travel. Lastly, after you have reviewed your DS 2019, make a copy for your records. Step 2 is to review your electronic Form I-94. To access your electronic Form I-94, go to this link and click on Get Most Recent I-94. After clicking Consent and Continue, enter your first and last name as it appears on your passport, your birth date, your passport number, passport country of issuance, and click Next. Your I-94 should look like this. Make sure your class of admission is F1 or J1, depending on your visa status, and your admit until date should not actually be a date. Instead, it should say D/S. D/S stands for Duration of Status. It means you can be in the U.S. for the duration of status of your student program. Sometimes when you try to access your I-94, it may say that it cannot locate the record. If this happens, you can try entering the first and middle name in the first name field, switching the order of names, entering different combinations of your name if you have multiple first and last names, or try multiple passport numbers if your passport number is different on your DS-160 or visa. These are just a few tips. For more tips, if you are having trouble accessing your I-94, go to our website and search for I-94 tips. If none of these tips work, you'll have to go to Deferred Inspections in downtown San Diego and have Customs and Border Patrol assist and fix your record. If you have to go to Deferred Inspections, ISPO can give you directions and more information. The third document to review is your student visa. Here is a sample visa. The first thing to check for is that your status is correct. For J1 students, it should say J1, and for F1 students, it should say F1. If you did a change of status within the U.S., it may say your old status, and you should have your I-797 approval notice and I-94 to show your new status. Another thing to make a note of is the expiration date on your visa and the number of entries. For number of entries, M means multiple and S means single. You can remain in the US with an expired visa, but if you leave the US after the expiration date, or if you only have a single entry visa, you will need to renew to re-enter. You can only renew outside of the US at a US consulate or embassy. After you have reviewed your visa, make a copy for your records. The fourth step is to review your passport. Note your passport expiration date. Your passport should always be valid at least 6 months into the future. If the expiration date is approaching, begin the process to renew. Make a copy of your passport photo and validity date page or pages for your records. Step 5 is to update your local and permanent address in Triton Link. Document self-checks should be completed within 15 days after each arrival into the U.S. There is no need to notify us when you complete document self-check unless you have questions or if you believe there is an error in your visa status. Failure to complete document self-check may result in the loss of your F1 or J1 status, especially if your documents were processed incorrectly at the port of entry and you do not get them fixed. Please remember that maintaining your visa status is your responsibility, but ISPO is here to help with any questions. Thank you.